Well, Mandla Msibi was nominated and elected for the position of Treasurer in absentia at the ANC's Mpumalanga 13th elective conference in eMalahleni this weekend. However, Msibi's election to the position could be short-lived as the ANC is expected to ask him to step aside once again pending the outcome of his murder case. To talk more on this, we're joined by ANC Veteran Omry Makgoale. Omry, thank you so much for your time and thank you for joining us this evening. Your thoughts on the President's remarks this afternoon calling on branches to reflect not only on ANC resolutions but decisions made by the ANC NEC regarding the step-aside rule?
I think it's important that the President reaffirms the issue of step-aside, for all leaders, comrades who are convicted of whatever case. It's important that he reassert that because it is the only way to try and clean the ANC, at the moment, short of a complete overhaul of the internal electoral laws.
Indeed. I mean, the other thing is that this was a completely democratic process. I mean, branches were given an opportunity to nominate and elect these individuals into these positions. I suppose I'm looking for your thoughts on the sort of difficult waters that Mandla Msibi will have to navigate, given the charges he faces, and of course his incumbent duties as a provincial treasurer.
Yes, I think what will happen is that the Lituli House, the headquarters, will have to send him a letter message to say until you are clear, until you are cleared of these charges, please step aside because this is the current policy at the moment. So, and Mandla then will see what to do. But hoping as a disciplined member of the ANC, he will follow that the instruction from the Lituli House to step aside until this case is clear. Because that is the current policy at the moment. Yeah. And so I would expect him to respect that.
Yeah. Omry, you used the word disciplined cadre, and we heard much of that from the ANC president this afternoon, what an ill-disciplined cadre does versus what a disciplined one does. What does this say about the state of the organization as a functioning unit, that branches nominated an individual who's currently fulfilling the requirements of the step-aside rule, and further to that individual in fact accepted the nomination, knowing that he's currently undergoing this step-aside rule? I mean, that speaks to ill-discipline.
Yes, I agree with you. But basically, the ANC at the moment, it's sick. It's an organization that is in ICU, according to our analysis. So it's not a normal ANC that you're watching. So this is why some of the things that are supposed to be abnormal actually happens. Because ideally, the branches should not have nominated him if he's got a murder case to answer to. But the fact that the branches have nominated him, it shows how sick the ANC is internally. And this is why we believe we should change how we elect leaders inside the ANC, to introduce one ANC member, one vote. So it must no longer be the delegates. At the moment, he was elected by the delegates. And the delegates, just to explain to you again, the delegates represent 2% of ANC members. The delegates represent 2% of ANC members. So 98% of ANC members in Mpumalanga did not attend that conference. They were at home. So, and they did not take part in that election. So until we change this law, the branch delegate conference format, until we reform it and change it, and we introduce one ANC member, one vote, we will not manage to clean the ANC for now. So this is a very sick ANC in ICU, according to my analysis.
Right. You talk about a sick ANC, an ANC that finds itself in need of critical care. Ramaphosa himself talks about an ANC that is a house that is on fire. So clearly there is recognition of the struggles, the challenges, the ills that are facing the organization. But what is the way forward? Because one does at least get the sense that there isn't much buy-in, certainly at branch level, for a lot of the resolutions that are coming up out of these conferences in an attempt to renew the organization.
Yes, the only way at the moment to renew the organization, it's to change the conference, the elective conference format has to be changed so that we have all ANC members, all of them, all members, taking individual and collective accountability for electing leaders inside the ANC. Now, at the moment, as I say, it's 2% of ANC members that actually attend these elective conferences. So 2%, by any standard, easy to bribe. 2%, if you are 1 out of 50, it's easy to bribe. But the entire ANC membership in Mpumalanga could not be bribed if it was allowed to directly elect the leaders in the province. So we are saying that to renew the ANC in all provinces and nationally, we need one ANC member, one vote to elect leaders. That is the way to renew the ANC.
Right. Something else that we, of course, saw coming out of this conference in the closing remarks made by the newly elected provincial chairperson, Mandla Msibi, was very interesting language that sought to endorse President Cyril Ramaphosa in the upcoming national conference without necessarily using the word endorse. I mean, I think he mentioned something along the lines of, if there is a call from branches, President Cyril Ramaphosa, I call upon you to accept the call. I mean, can that be considered an endorsing of CR?
Well, I think that when he is endorsing him, and he's saying that if the branches nominate him again, he must accept, President must accept the nomination. I think it's fair enough to say it's endorsement. And, well, there's nothing wrong, basically, in endorsing it. You know, you have the freedom to endorse whoever you want to endorse. There's nothing wrong with that. From our side, of course, from where we stand for renewal of ANC, we would prefer that all ANC members should, elect the next ANC president on the basis of one member, one vote, no longer with the branch delegate. You see, unfortunately, because this one member, one vote has not yet been adopted inside the ANC, has not yet been adopted, it means that the elections of the president at the end of the year is still going to take place along the branch delegate conference format. And that means that 2% of ANC members will elect the next ANC president, or the next ANC leadership. And for us, it's unfortunate in terms of for renewal purposes. It means that we still have a long way to go before we can renew the ANC.
I mean, in closing, Omry, while I think we can appreciate the language that is being used in these, sort of forms of endorsement, I mean, is it wise, though, to do it so early on when we know the long road that lies ahead towards the 55th elective conference sometime in December? I mean, I know that former ANC President Thabo Mbeki has already issued his own caution against these kinds of endorsements quite early on. Because the organization is so fraught, because it's so divided, this kind of talk, this kind of speak can't bode well for an organization that is this deeply factionalized.
Yes, I agree with you. It's deeply factionalized, but the idea why Comrade Mandla, I think, is endorsing the president, he's sending a signal to the others that, where he stands in terms of the states, that he's not going to support somebody else. He's going to stand with the president. I think it's an indication, it's a sign to say, be aware, I'm going to endorse the current president. And maybe I understand that, but the problems, why these things are done at the expense of service delivery in the country and all that, they all emanate from the electoral laws and the parliamentary electoral laws. Until we change the parliamentary electoral laws to establish where citizens directly elect members of parliament, we cannot stop what is happening at the moment.
Right.
It will continue to happen.
All right. Ntate Makgoale, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for sharing your insights with us.